Bonjour, Isaac. That's as far as I can go. I'm Jared Call with Nourish California. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the 2023 campaign kickoff of the Food for All campaign. We started this campaign 2 years ago. It's grown, we've achieved significant victories, but we're here today to reiterate our call for no exceptions, no exclusions, and no delays when it comes to providing vital food assistance to people unfairly excluded solely due to their immigration status. Food for all. We can't have California for all without food for all. So it's my pleasure to begin by introducing our legislative champion who's been with us since the beginning, Senator Melissa Hurtado, representing the 16th Senate District. Please welcome Senator Hurtado.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's such an honor to be here with you all today, enjoying this lovely cold weather, right? We definitely need some food and some fun and some coffee to make sure that we stay warm today, and I'm glad that that's provided here today. So I'm happy to be joined here with Assemblymember Santiago, by Nourish California, by Senator Rubio, the California Immigrant Policy Center, and our fierce coalition of Food for All advocates to renew our fight to truly provide food for all. Through hard work and the support of the advocates standing with me here today, we were able to secure funding to support access to food assistance for older undocumented immigrants last year. While last year's win certainly brings us closer to food for all, there is still much work to do. Far too many people are still without food and facing food insecurity. No one living in a state with what is now the fourth largest economy in the world should be without food. No one, absolutely no one. Food is and always has been more than just food for me. Food nourishes us, it connects us. It is the centerpiece of many holidays and family get-togethers. It provides us with a sense of community. But still, according to the LAO, CalFresh unjustly excludes between 690,000 to 840,000 undocumented immigrants here in California are ineligible for food assistance programs. We must continue our advocacy so that no one in our state goes hungry, so that no one is without their basic needs being met. That is why today we pick up where we left off last year, continuing this fight to ensure everyone who has access to food assistance. With the introduction of SB 245 and AB 311, it is my hope that we can expand access to the California Food Assistance Program to income-eligible California immigrants of all ages who are currently excluded due to their immigration status. Thank you for being here today and for your continued advocacy in this effort to make food assistance programs more equitable. Your work is a huge part of how we have come this far, and we still have a lot of work to do, so don't give up just yet. We have a lot of work. I'm happy to be joined with you all here today, and it will probably be absolutely necessary again if we are going to be successful in completing the work that we have started together. Thanks again. And I would love to introduce our next speaker, big champion of Food for All, Assemblymember Miguel Santiago.
And a big round of applause to Senator Hurtado for her hard work over the last several years. And look, plain and simple, people should not go hungry in the fourth largest economy in the world. And when you think about our budget, because some people talk about us being broke, but you think about our budget, almost $300 billion, and we can't figure out how to feed those who are most vulnerable. And it makes no sense in California where the people who grow the food can't afford to buy the food to eat it. Makes absolutely no sense when you think about it. Now, some people in the building think that we should postpone some portion of the Food for All for a couple of years. But when you really think about it, here's the cost of that. Out of a $300 billion budget, you're looking at 0.01% of that budget. And the people we pick on would be those who are undocumented, those who grow the food, those who can't afford the food. It makes absolutely no sense. Here's what makes no sense even worse. The fact that we sent middle class refunds to folks in households who made $500,000, and we can't figure out how to feed people who grow the food. Now just think about that for a second. Last year, we all in the Capitol were incredibly grateful to send back stimulus checks for people. Now, when you take a look at that, there were households in there that made $500,000. And yet this year, we're still debating how to push out food for those who are most vulnerable in the state of California. And this year, we're still debating in the fourth largest economy in the world to give basic food to those who can't afford it. That makes no sense. That's why this fight this year is more important than ever. We're talking about budget dust for people who grow the food, who can't afford the food they grow. Makes no sense. Y luego muy breve en español para los medios de comunicación en español. And if I stutter, I'm cold. Aquí estamos en la cuarta economía más grande del mundo, donde la gente que crece la comida no puede comprar esa misma comida. El último año, aquí en el estado de California, en el Capitolio, mandamos cheques a gente que gana casi $1 millón para que les ayudemos un poquito. Y no les podemos mandar a la gente que está con hambre, que no tiene documentos, un poquito para comer. En la cuarta economía más grande del mundo. Y vamos viendo el presupuesto. $300 billones. 300 billones de dólares. Y lo que movimos para no darle de comer a la gente es menos de 0.01% de ese presupuesto. Hay gente que se está muriendo de hambre. Hay niños que no tienen que comer. Hay gente que si no les damos de comer podría morir mañana. Y estamos aquí este año otra vez luchando para la gente que crece nuestra comida en el estado de California y no puede comprarla, simplemente porque no tiene documentos. Esta batalla es más importante este año que nunca, ya siendo la cuarta economía más grande del mundo. Y ahora me da un placer, it's a great pleasure that I present Amir Ali, a UC student from San Diego. Big round of applause.
Hi, my name is Amir Ali, and as someone who just graduated from high school, I'd like to share some of my experiences within the school system. I've had the pleasure of befriending many undocumented students, and I'd like to share a story of one of my friends who recently went through a severe sickness, and he was really traumatized by it, but he still came to school for the sole reason of being provided with food and him not having access to food within his household, and he was forced to come to school and struggle, and that was really just eye-opening to me, because that's the same food that a lot of my peers and I spend hating on and really trashing just because of the low quality, but for some people that's the only thing that they have access to, and it's just a really eye-opening thing to witness for me personally. And it's not really just with the kids, it's also with their parents who have no access to food. And as a child, witnessing your parents who are supposed to be strong, having to witness them go through hunger day in and day out, and that's something that can really tear apart families, cause lots of stress and other issues, and that's one of the things that leads to domestic abuse. And it's really traumatizing for me to have witnessed that, and I think that we really need to step up, because it's both illogical and inhumane for students to have to go through rigorous courses and have to pursue further education while being hungry, while being malnourished, and while really just struggling day in and day out. I think that we really have a long way to go before we can really say that we've done enough for these students and for their parents. So I really hope that in the future things will change for the next generations to come. Thank you. And I'd like to welcome Senator Susan Rubio, representing the 22nd Senate District.
Good morning, everyone. I'm first of all so proud of this student that just came up here. It gives me great pride when I see our young individuals participate and just be part of the process. First, I want to just stand here as a proud co-author to SB 245, which is an important step to ensure that all families have food and don't go hungry. I want to thank Assembly Member Santiago and our author, Melissa Hurtado, for taking on this fight. So big round of applause to Melissa Hurtado, who has been fighting this fight for a very, very long time, and we know that it's necessary. We're here today because we have heard the cries of so many of our immigrant families that can't afford to put a meal on the table. And I want to speak to you not just as your senator, but also as a former teacher. I taught nearly 20 years in the classroom, and I can attest to the fact that so many of our children come to school hungry. And we know that when kids are hungry, they're not prepared, they can't concentrate, and it used to break my heart, which was often every single day, where a child came in and said, "Miss Rubio, my tummy hurts, I cannot concentrate, I'm really hungry, I haven't had anything to eat since yesterday in school." So we just knew, and to all my fellow teachers out there, I know you understand, we all just knew you had to have a bag of food, snacks, something ready to feed that one child that's gonna come up to you and say, "I am starving, I haven't had anything to eat." So I want you to consider that for a child that is wanting to learn, wanting to concentrate, but there's that one barrier. They cannot get food at home. So I also wanted to say that a lot of our children depend, and our families depend on our school meals. They depend on going to school for breakfast and lunch, but school days are only 5 days a week. There's 7 days in the week, and these families need food on the weekends as well. And we cannot depend on the school district to be the people that feed the children. As has already been stated, we're now the 4th largest economy in the world, and we cannot do the very basic thing, and that is to ensure that our children don't go hungry. This is particularly more personal to me, as many may or may not know my story. I am an immigrant, at some point undocumented, and at some point deported as a child. And my dad was a farm worker. My mother was a housekeeper all her life. And so as much as they think that they're shielding us from the struggles, I was 5, 6, 7, you know when mom and dad are struggling with food. You see the distress in their face. You see that they want to feed you, but they can't. And they work really hard, sometimes 2 to 3 jobs just to make it work. And in this California, that is unacceptable. When they are growing the food, when they are breaking their backs out in the sun, out in the cold, just to make sure that we not only feed California, but feed the nation, and we cannot feed them, that is a travesty. That is unacceptable. And so I'm so proud to be here with these legislators, my colleagues, my friends, and everyone else here, the Coalition of Food for All, standing in strong solidarity to ensure that we do what's right and that we make sure that the budget includes feeding these families. I also want to say a few words in Spanish, if I may. Buenos días, soy la senadora Susan Rubio, represento el Distrito 22 en el Valle de San Gabriel. Aquí estamos para asegurar que todas las familias, aunque sean inmigrantes, no tengan documentos, tengan alimentos diarios. Aquí en este estado tenemos una economía muy fuerte y aún así tenemos varias familias que no tienen de comer. Lo digo no solamente como senadora, pero también como inmigrante, en un momento indocumentada, en otro momento deportada, y sé personalmente la batalla que tienen nuestras familias inmigrantes, especialmente los que trabajan en agrícolas. Mi papá también vino en este país como bracero. Primeramente le dieron la oportunidad para venir a trabajar en todos los the farms. Pero quería nada más decir que aquí estoy con mucha fuerza con mis colegas para asegurar que California haga lo que es correcto, y eso es asegurar que toda familia tenga de qué comer, no importa de su estatus inmigrante. Yo también quiero decirte que como maestra, cuando vemos todos los niños que vienen a las escuelas y no tienen hambre y los padres siempre se atienen a las comidas de nuestras escuelas, no es aceptable, porque la escuela solo son 5 días y tenemos niños y familias que tienen que comer 7 días a la semana. So, les damos muchas gracias a todos que están aquí con nosotros. Que pasen buenas tardes. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Assembly Member Tina McKinner. So I will now introduce a statewide organizer from California Immigrant Policy Center, Melika Panchbetchi. I hope I said it correctly.
Thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Malika and I'm the coalition manager, one of the coalition managers for the Food for All Coalition. And thank you all to all of you for coming out here. I know I've been sending a lot of emails, so thank you for coming. I know it's very cold. I manage the coalition and every day I'm humbled by the wide array of organizations from all over the states that are part of this coalition. Organizations that work on very different issues like gender justice, anti-hunger, immigration, children's safety, and so on. And they all care so much about the issue of food for all. Because food is life and to eat is to live. As everyone has said, California is the fourth largest economy in the world, and a huge part of that is agriculture. 49% of California's farm workers are undocumented, and many of whom have lived here for over 10 years. And it just baffles me that the people that feed us, not just from the farms, but in the restaurants, in the grocery stores, everywhere, are excluded from California's very own food assistance program. And this reminds me of my story. So I immigrated from Iran when I was 13, and because I came from Iran, I had the privilege to come here with a green card. And that card alone was the reason that my family and I were able to have an EBT card. And those weeks and those months and those years were the hardest of my life, and I can't imagine if those like $400 wouldn't have come through the EBT, what those weeks would have looked like. I don't think that that should be a reason that I get access to that money and someone else doesn't. Food is also more than just about nourishment. Food is about choice, it's about agency, it's about the ability to make decisions. It's about having clarity in your mind to be able to live a life that you deserve and that you want to live. Food is also about community, it's about connection, it's about creation, and it's about our shared future. In many cultures, did you eat today is the same as how are you? So I really want to raise the question of what kind of a shared future we're building, not just for California, but for the whole world, if you're excluding the people that put the food on our tables. And now I want to introduce Izer Pamintuam, an amazing policy advocate from Alameda County Community Food Bank, who's here with us today. Thank you.